Well, to you young men, you are the future of America. I am Elias A. Horiatis. My father was Angelo. He has 6 sons. Me, George's grandfather, George A. Horiatis. I am Elias. So it just happens we were in the service the same time. Well, we were in the army. There was 2 different groups. I was in the engineer corps, and my brother George was in the Rangers battalion. But I was in the 7th Corps, 7th Army in Germany. We were very, very thankful for serving our country and showing a good example of ourselves. Why? To make America happy, to make the American people feel safe with us serving in the armed forces of the United States, just like my father served World War II. He was in the OSS group, which is known as Officer Strategic Service, safeguarding the United States from Mexico to Canada and overseas. They were very, very special people. Most of them spoke more than one language. That's why it was a special service outfit to protect the government, the United States, with secrecy and honor. That was World War II. Their general was known as Wild Bill Donovan, General Donovan. But I'm going back because I picked up a lot of pride through my father giving his service to this country. So when I was drafted in 1956, I was extremely proud. I said, I am going in the service, in the military, to make my neighbors and the citizens of America happy and proud. I was just as proud to serve them. So overseas, we spent most of our time in the military service. At that time, America was very, very, very strong and alert and could put down any danger. And all the GIs, I'm sure they felt like I felt. We were there, we stood ready, and it was such an honor knowing that we defend America. Sometimes you go through life and you see the changes and the responsibilities. I did my duty well. I was discharged honorably, and I became a member of the VFW because how should I say this? Because I was in Germany and I would go back and forth to Berlin and I participated in many operations, I was automatically accepted in the VFW, which means Veterans of Foreign War. So at the same time, I became a member of the American Legion. And all these years, I never stopped. I would participate in their meetings, and it's an honorable thing. I became a better man. And the military service helped me tremendously. And by the way, the military service, any young man that goes in or a young woman, it makes them a better person, a better citizen, more thankful for all the good things that we have. We are the most beautiful and luckiest nation in the world. And the military has a lot to do with it. It just happens that I have a book, and I'm so honored to have this book, knowing there's some prayers in this book and articles for anyone that reads it. In fact, I think it belongs next to the Holy Bible to remind us to serve and protect, and likewise our families to be well and protected in our country. And I'm going to keep on, as long as I can, be faithful to my country and to the service I've done. So this is where my heart stands.
In which branch of the service did you serve?
The Army Engineer Corps. I was in the engineers. Engineers are a very special group in the United States Army. It helps to move the armies forward. If it wasn't for the roads and if it wasn't for the bridges And if it wasn't for the barracks, and if it wasn't for the parking lots and the equipment to be handled, you wouldn't have it without engineers. They are the doers to keep the Army moving on any particular emergency or project. It's first the engineers. Can you imagine wanting to cross a river and not having a bridge? Can you imagine trying to climb on a hill if you don't have a road? Can you imagine not having a depot for the heavy equipment of the military service? Stop imagining. The Army Corps of Engineers is always there, and they always come through being responsible. I enjoyed my time. I became a sergeant. And I know one thing. First comes the responsibility and the job 100%, and then the rest of the time is yours.
How many years did you serve?
Well, total it was almost 6 years. And after that, after the 6 years, I joined the American Legion and the VFW.
Did you serve during a war?
Well, cleaning up after the war. But it's a complication to the question. At the time we had, I should say, the Berlin that was circled by mostly straight to say communist, the Berlin. I was stationed in Germany. We would go to Berlin, like if 750 of us went in, 750 will have to come out. And it was a responsibility, and we didn't want the enemy to know we had any weakness. We were always upfront ambassadors of goodwill for the United States government, each one of us. And that gave us much, much more stronger feeling and faith that we were doing the service for our country.
Okay. What years did you serve?
1956, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62.
What rank did you achieve?
I was ranked sergeant, just like it says in the book, and I was known as Sergeant Horiatis.
Did you receive any commendations or medals?
Yes, the first one was for being a good soldier. The other one was for being a good the weapons that I was responsible for, like marksman.
I am George Borladas. I served in the Navy.
How many years did you serve?
I served 3 years, from June 1943 to April 1946.
Did you serve during a war?
Yes, indeed. I was attending Woodrow Wilson High School, and we were drafted. Of course, Uncle Sam, the United States of America, was in need of personnel, and so it turned to the youth to be drafted. And they waited until I finished high school. I finished Wednesday. Saturday night, I was in Virginia, a naval person.
Were you stationed in any countries? And where else did you visit during your time in the service?
Well, I served in the United States, East Coast, even in Canada, Newfoundland, and also in California, Treasure Island, and then Hawaii and the islands in the Pacific. There were the places that I had to be involved with the Navy.
What rank did you achieve?
Well, the rank was captain of a boat, Cox, C-O-X. You enter as seaman third class, second, first class, and then Cox. Actually, you are the captain of a boat.
Did you receive any commendations or medals?
No, the usual that the government gives you after you are discharged, the medals taking part in the invasion of Okinawa, and recognition of my service.
you have any memorable stories you would like to share?
Well, I like to tell you about Okinawa. That was my last battle. It was really it's written because I would forget figures and so on, and I like to read exactly what happened in Okinawa. Okinawa was a smell of death and destruction. It was the major battle of Second World War, and it was the final obstacle in reaching the Japan itself, the island of Japan. Over 500,000 U.S. troops took part in the battle. The Okinawa campaign is something that will forever stay in my mind and stay. Our army, our naval, they would gather the children and women and place them safe. That was really the God-sent personnel that would take care of the enemy's children and family. One of the Japanese women was being attended by a young doctor, naval doctor, who was young. He wasn't out of medical school. I don't know how long, but he was young, and he was attending her, and she takes a knife out of her breast, and she knifes the doctor. I wasn't there myself. I was a little further down, and I was told what happened. So I want to say anything what happens after that. But that was the ugliest thing I saw. A person that was being taken care of, take out a knife and kill. I don't know whether he killed or not, and knife the attending doctor. My personal experience in the U.S. Navy, it was really unforgettable. But the fact that we Greek Americans, when we met, we would discuss a lot of things about Greece, about this history, about the restaurants and the hot dogs that the parents were selling. But we tried to help each other. But yeah, that's my experience.
Thank you.
Well.
This is Mr. Christopher Sivist. Mr. Sivist is a former president of our church and a longtime member of our church board. Mr. Sivist, which branch of the service did you serve?
Army Air Force.
How many years did you serve?
Was inducted in the service on November the 8th, 1943, in Allentown, PA. I served, how should I say it? My first contention was I was in Miami Beach, Florida. And from there, I was taken into an outfit called the 2nd Aircraft Repair Unit in Brooklyn Field, Alabama. From Brooklyn Field, Alabama, by ship, we left there October the 1st, 1944, and landed in Saipan on the 17th of November, 44. And from there, we went in the Western Pacific to ground combat at Iwo Jima. And from Iwo Jima, I returned to the States.
Mr. Sivist is showing us his honorable discharge certificate. Mr. Sivist came back to the United States from Iwo Jima in January of 1946. Mr. Sivist was a corporal rank serving in World War II in the Pacific.
We went through a couple of hurricanes while we were in the Pacific. The ship was a Liberty ship, was converted into an aircraft repair unit. We had Navy personnel manning the guns, and the ship was manned by people that were civilians, and they ran the ship. We pulled into Saipan. What was nice about Saipan was there was coral reef around the island, and after the waves from outside broke across the coral reef, we had this beautiful lagoon where we went swimming on Christmas Day. The funny part of it was Tokyo Rose told us on Christmas Day there won't be a live soldier on Saipan. The day, Christmas Day, they did raid us, so she was true to her words.
Name's John Pappas,
Mr. Pappas, how old are you?
92 years old,
Mr. Pappas, which branch did you serve in?
Army Air Corps,
Have you served in any active wars?
World War II, 1945. Two and a half, 3 years. I trained in the United States. I bombed over Germany, 30 missions. I was an engineer for the airplane plus the top turret gunner. Top turret gunner protected the airplane against enemy fire.
What rank did you achieve?
5 stripes, tech sergeant.
Did you receive any medals in your position?
I received the Air Medal with 5 Oak League clusters.
What did you do in order to receive the Air Medal?
I flew 30 missions over Germany.
Mr. Pappas, thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
In which branch of the service did you serve?
I served in the United States Army.
And how many years did you serve?
I served 2 years active service and 4 years inactive service.
And did you serve during a war?
Yes, I served during the Vietnam War.
And in what years did you serve?
1964 to 1966 active service. My last 6 months were in Vietnam.
And in which countries were you stationed, or where did you visit during your time in the service?
Most of the time I served here in the United States at South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia. And I served with the 1st Air Cavalry Division. And then we were shipped as a unit to South Vietnam in 1965.
And what rank did you achieve?
Spec 4, Specialist 4.
And did you receive any special commendations or medals?
Yes, I received the United States Department of Defense medal, and I received the South Vietnam Campaign medal, and also the South Vietnamese government medal, and also the experts rifle and pistol badge. And also, of course, anybody who serves in war receives the rifle
medal, which is this medal here. I have them in my cap. This rifle here, the blue rifle, in the infantry. And if the medal has the wreath around it, it means you served in war.
And do you have any memorable stories you'd like to share?
Yes, I do. I served one of the first major United States battle with the North Vietnamese in 1965, October 1965. The North Vietnamese, through Cambodia and Laos, they had infiltrated into South Vietnam a regular army unit, a whole division. And the 1st Air Cavalry Division had some information about that invasion of the North Vietnamese, and they sent 2 battalions. A battalion is a force of 500 to 600 men to search and destroy. Because in South Vietnam, we fought a war, we didn't have no lines in the jungles of South Vietnam. Guerrilla warfare. You had to find and destroy the enemy. And we were under the command of General Westmoreland. He was the commander of all the American forces in South Vietnam. And he in person watched the battlefield, was in the Nha Trang Valley of South Vietnam, and it's called the Nha Trang Valley, and also was made into a movie. I don't know if you saw it in the movie theaters. We were soldiers, young soldiers, with Mel Gibson played in the movie. And of course, it's a horrible story, because in that campaign we lost almost half of our unit and we were like bodies from the beginning of our service. And I had 10 days to go, and I was still there. And thank God, my belief in God, because I was very religious and I believed in God truly with my heart, is what saved me. And I came out of the battlefield whole. But anybody who fights in a war doesn't come out whole, because after the service, you become into civilian life, you have psychological problems. And all the Vietnam veterans had more psychological problems after their service through the years. But thank God to the Veterans Affairs Department that gave us medical attention and psychological attention. And of course, a lot of the Vietnam veterans, they get post-war, they got the post-war syndrome pension. And another story that I have to tell you, I had in Vietnam, we had in my division, we had 5 or 6 Greek American boys, and we all knew each other. We were different units, but in the same location. And one of my buddies got malaria, because malaria was a big thing in Vietnam, because they had a lot of bugs, and especially and a lot of people got malaria. And Perry, his name was Pericles Kakunis, and he got sick from malaria, and he was transferred to the General Hospital, Army Hospital in San Francisco. And when I got to San Francisco for my discharge, I went and I seen him. I learned that he was in the hospital there, and I went and I saw him. When he got discharged later, I got home, and over the years, through our work, you never expect that you're gonna meet somebody. But after I retired, I looked up this person, and I found him living in Kalamata, Greece. After 47 years, we met in Patras. We had a reunion in Patras, Greece, and was one of my most wonderful reunions that I ever had in my life, meeting a comrade soldier after 47 years. Yes,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome, and be proud of the veterans, because especially of our post is the Greek American post, and is the only Greek American post in the United States, the Eleftheria post, which we meet once a month. Now we meet at St. Luke's, and we have luncheon on a third Monday of every month, and we discuss things that we do in civilian life. Our chapter does a lot of things, and if you look up in your vestibule of your church, there is a big board there with the names of all the members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of America. And this is a cap that all the veterans of the Foreign Wars of America wear. And we have over 150 members of the tri-state area that belongs to our post. And anything else that would you like to
Nope.
ask? I'll be okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And be proud of America.
Thank you.
America is the best country in the world. I came here from Greece, I was 15 years old, and I went to Benjamin Franklin night school. I worked almost 12 hours a day, and in the evening I went to school so I can learn the language. And after I graduated, actually I didn't have time to graduate because I went into the service, and I got my GED diploma from the Armed Forces Institute while I was in the service. And in 1963, of course, when Kennedy, President Kennedy was killed, we all became very patriotic, and we all wanted to serve the country. And of course, then they had the draft, and I was drafted because the Vietnam War was escalating and they needed soldiers. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.